morning. You have come on a good day. It is our chili cook-off day. Yeah, so we have a very intense competition ahead of us after service. I hope you will join us in the fellowship hall to eat some chili, vote on some chili, and watch our competitors duke it out among themselves over who actually gets to claim the prize. So there'll also be desserts and everything else, and so there'll be plenty of food. I hope you plan on joining us. A couple quick things for you. First, you will see on your focus card that is in the bulletin, if you'll flip around and see the back, what we have on the back is a little different than what we normally have, because we are going through a round of essentially rebuilding our worship servants list. So all those who are signed up to be in rotation for our ushers, our greeters, our tech booth, nursery workers, all those various things that we have going on during the worship service, we are rebuilding that list. And so we hope that everyone, if you are interested in doing any of these jobs that are listed on the back of the sheet, will indicate that on the sheet and drop it in the offering plate as it comes by late in the service. We're going to have this on here for a few Sundays in a row, but this is what we're going to be doing to rebuild that list a little bit, to enhance our communication around that work, and make sure that everyone's aware that that's an opportunity that we have for you to be serving in the life of our church. Also, want to let you know there's going to be a sign-up on the bulletin board. The Friends and Followers Sunday School class is hosting a luncheon, and we're going to be watching the movie A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood on February 23rd, and there'll be a sign-up sheet on the bulletin board for you to sign up for that. It's open for everybody who would like to be a part of it. Again, it is good to be with you this morning. I invite you to stand as the choir leads us into worship.
Thank you.
been a long and storied history of relationship between our denomination and between various scouting ministries and organizations in our culture and country. And we want to celebrate and recognize a renewing and restarting Scout ministry, Scout presence here at St. James United Methodist Church. We have a Cub Scout pack, Pack 510, that, if I remember correctly, just started again this fall, correct, Steve? Yes, so the Cub Pack Scout, Cub Scout Pack, started meeting again here at St. James last fall, and now we are very excited that this spring our Boy Scout troop, Troop 510, is also going to be starting again. Educatus has really taken some great initiative in getting that started, so we are very excited that he will be serving as the Scout Master of Troop 510, and that we're going to be seeing such new and revitalized ministry in that area here. This morning we want to recognize these individuals, so let's start with any Cub Scouts and leaders, those right now, or any who have been Cub Scouts or Cub Scout leaders in the past. Could you stand for us this morning? So if we're having trouble with attendance, let's add a stipend in while we go. And now any Boy Scouts and leaders, current or former Boy Scouts or leaders, could you all stand and we can recognize you? And we also want to recognize this morning any Girl Scouts or Girl Scout leaders, current or former, that we have in our church. You can stand. Yeah. Thank you all so much. It is so good. You can see such fruit from this work. You can see such fruit from being a part of the Scouts, and it is such a great opportunity for us as a church to be able to host them, to charter them, and to support them. So as the Cub Scout continues in its early days of being started again, and as the Boy Scout troop begins once again in the days ahead, let's be in prayer for them, let's celebrate them, and let's be aware and ready to serve and to serve with them in any ways that God calls us to do so. At this time, we'd like to invite our kids, if they'd like, to go with Kelly to junior church, and we'll invite everyone to stand again as we continue worshiping and we sing, "How Shall I Come Before the Lord?"
Shall I
That's wonderful news this morning. What else? How has God been good to you over this past week? That's awesome. So Judy Woodward has got her grad this week. So we'll celebrate with her. What else? Nothing else? Let's turn to a time of prayer and prayer requests this morning. How can we pray for you all this morning? How can we pray for each other and lift each other up?
We can follow our colleagues too.
Absolutely. We got some that are here this morning that have returned home. Actually not. It's not. Yes, definitely need to be in prayer for the Altman family and Caitlin through this season. So please remember that family this quarter. Bruce Witt. Elfrida Nine. And we need to remember her in all of our shut-ins this week and today.
Family down there, that's what.
Yes, we remember that. Who else? So Margaret, that's going to do it. Good. Maxine too. Yeah, family, Maxine too. Please remind us of the person family, her family. Kim Mark. As always, we need to remember the men and women who serve in our military, our president, our governor, our senators, representatives at the national level and state level, and of course all of our emergency workers, police, fire, EMS, and even our emergency dispatchers. Anyone else before we go to prayer? So Marilyn reminds us of everyone in our midst, and even the maintenance workers and others. Sometimes we overlook certain positions within organizations and businesses. Who else? If not, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Be reminded that the altar is always open, so you may come forward if you feel led. Let's turn to God right now and we'll go to prayer. Your great merciful and Heavenly Father, God, we come this morning seeking you this day. We're praising you that we have a gift and are able to be here this morning, to gather around with friends, family. Not even that we can take for granted because we don't have to fear about coming to worship. Don't have to fear that as we join together and as we come here to this place to worship, that there's persecution. And yet we know that around the world that's not always the case. God, we look back over a week and we see that you have been there. Too often in our lives, we get so distracted by with everything going on that we miss you. Our schedules get so busy. We've got to be here, be there, do this, do that. And down to the minute of our day is scheduled. And yet, too often, you're there
see how you helped us over this past week. You brought us back here safely. Every time now we put our feet on the ground and give us air to breathe, and fill our lungs. We are able to get up out of bed, put our feet on the ground. And at night you allowed us to lay our head on the pillow and get refreshed from the day. I heard the people, the families, the ways that we need you in our midst, those loved ones that are on our hearts. I even want to know the people sometimes the words don't come. We don't know what to say, we don't know how to pray. Even for us, if we're close to the people that we don't know what to do. God, the power and our ability to come and pray. God, I pray that you would remind us that how great a power this is, and that every time we come and pray, you are attentive and listening. Even while the words may not be able to be formed, you hear our heart. You hear the groaning. I know that's the case with people today. I was reading the story of how you interacted with people, how you healed, how you forgave, how you led, and how you discipled that same experience can happen to us people over and over. So God, I pray for every heart, I pray for every life that we would be accepting of how you're working around us. God, maybe the people that we are praying for, maybe they need us to step in a real and powerful way. And if that is the case, God, I pray that you would give us the strength. That if it's words to share, we would have those words. If it's a deed, you would lead us. Because God, we know that sometimes we may need you for people in our world that are hurting, and longing, and are needing you in their life. And so, God, we take this power home and pray for our men and women in the military, our president, our governor, and all our representatives. God, we pray that you will be with them. And not just us here, but around the world. Help us, God. Help us this morning. Be with us. Be within our midst. And may we, when we leave this place, know that we have been in your presence. God, now we turn to the Lord's Prayer, the prayer that when your disciples came and asked, how, God, how, Jesus, can we pray? Eternal life. You said, whenever you pray, pray like this. Let's join together in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, This is the word of God for the people of God, and our response is to say, thanks be to God. You may be seated.
music and the way that it lifts us into your presence. I pray that as we continue in worship, and as I seek to proclaim your word, that you would give me the words to say. That all of us would be listening to your Spirit in this place, that we may become more like you this day. Amen. Well, I have to tell you this morning about a great work of grace that God has worked upon me over these last several years. As many of you know, I am a Tennessee Volunteers fan. And if you don't know anything about Eastern Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky is very blue. And I spent most of my life in Michael, which is like Lexington East. And I'll tell you something, though people kept asking me, how could I have managed to live in Kentucky for all this time while still managing to be a Tennessee fan, I say to them, be a Tennessee fan in Michael, Kentucky. It will not turn you to the other side. What it will do is it will increase your stubbornness, your passionate fandom for the Big Orange, and will make you enjoy a Kentucky loss even more than you enjoy a Tennessee win. So when I realized that I was about to be a preacher in Kentucky, I suddenly was in need of a great work of grace in my life. Lord, help me be a preacher to these people. Give me the grace to be a pastor to these people. Well, you know what? Yesterday afternoon, I was sitting in Thompson Bowling Arena, which, if you do not know, is where Tennessee plays basketball. And you may not know, we played Kentucky yesterday. Yeah, I know you know. I see those pants, okay? And of course, as all you Kentucky fans know, you all travel really well. And so there I am in my home team's arena with my son and my daughter, getting to share with them the special moment of being in Thompson Bowling Arena as a family for the first time. And who is all around me but those people in their blue, degrading our arena with those disgusting chants that I will not even bring myself to repeat. And you know what? I wasn't that angry at them. I found myself being able to live in God's grace. In a moment of great defeat for my dear volunteers, surrounded by now emboldened and very loud Kentucky fans, not feeling anger. Ah, praise the Lord. It's a running joke that I actually have with people who I have who I've been blessed to be able to be the pastor of, who are Kentucky fans, which, as you can imagine, is many of you and many others. Though I do seem to keep moving geographically farther away from the epicenter of Kentucky fandom, because I was in Pikeville, and then I was in Wilmore, Kentucky, which is just south of Tennessee, and that's all kinds of Kentucky fans there when I was in college. And then I moved to Elizabethtown, where we had this like split of Kentucky and Louisville fans, and now I moved even farther south to here, where we have this mixture of Kentucky, Louisville, WKU, and then the occasional Tennessee fan, and then people from just all over the place mattered in. So it's actually becoming kind of easier the farther away I move. But I keep saying to them that I've actually reached this point that I don't necessarily enjoy a Kentucky loss as much as I enjoy a Tennessee win. And I think that that's the work of God's grace. I think that that is a radical transformation. And from the person that I was to the person that I am today. Let's praise the Lord for His endless mercies. But of course, don't get confused.
Thanks for wearing blue shirt.
It's closer to North Carolina blue. Don't get confused and think I'm turning to your side. I'm just a little more grace-filled than I once was. But it's amazing how much I really did have this struggle of Kentucky fans really being those people. In my life, I have tried to repent of that because, I really had a point not long, kind of late college, early real adulthood life. I realized to myself, the way that I respond to sports is not spiritually healthy. And I really need to get this in check. A lot of us might need that. A lot of us may have needed it at some point in our lives. The NFL season's over, though. Of course, sports is the most friendly way that we do it. And it's the area where we can kind of poke fun at each other in a good-natured way. And maybe we can get it out of our system, this need to have some people to get mad at. It's the good-natured side of it. But I think we all understand that there's a great temptation among us to always have in our life those people. To have the other. To have the enemy. To have the group of people who I disagree with, or who I don't like, or who I have a problem with, and who I can very eloquently justify my problem with. We are very good at identifying the other and seeing someone and taking something about them, any maybe single characteristic that they may have, and then using that as all the information that we need to brand them as one of the other, who I do not like. In this story today, we see Jesus caught in the middle between groups of people who had others, who were familiar with talking about these or those people. Jesus finds himself in the middle of this conflict, and he gives us a powerful example of how we should actually live our lives. This story that Emma read for us this morning is one that receives a lot of attention from scholars, because it's this story here as we're nearing the end of this section of the Gospel of Luke, as we're getting close to this climax in Luke chapter 9, when the identity of Jesus is going to be declared. And it's a continuation of several themes through this section. For one, it's a continuation of the way that Jesus uses the table and the way that Jesus uses the chance to sit down at dinner with people, to teach and to lead people to His grace. It's a story in which we see the theme of forgiveness carried on. It's a story in which we see that Jesus' interactions with the sinners, with those who He shouldn't be spending time with, and the interactions that He has with the Pharisees, the righteous people, come to a head. Where not only do they interact over the same event, but we find these two groups of people brought to the same table where Jesus is eating. And so it's a collection of several themes. It's a clash of several things in the Gospel of Luke, so the people write about it and talk about it a lot. And as I was reading about it, there are two things that stood out to me more than the others. And the first thing that stood out to me is the fact that Jesus allows the woman to make the public display that she makes. In this time, a woman who has her hair down in this kind of environment would be akin to us, would generate the same kind of reaction that we would see today if someone was walking around nude. And not only that, but the way that she uses her hair to wipe Jesus' feet, and the way that she kisses his feet, the way that she is pouring oil upon his feet is an encounter of such intimacy that you would not want to be there with your grandma. Let's put it that way. It is something that would not have, for many reasons, would not be considered socially accepted. But Jesus allows it. And what stood out to me is that Jesus doesn't actually respond to it even. He doesn't say anything about it. In fact, there's a chance that, to me, it sounds like he's waiting for a reaction from someone else. The other thing that stood out to me is, Simon has this thought in verse 39 where he says to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know what kind of woman is touching him. He would know that she is a sinner. In verse 40, Jesus replied, Simon, I have something to say to you. And I didn't realize this until I read about it this week, but this is one of only 2 times in the entire Gospel of Luke that Jesus refers to someone by their first name when he is in conversation with them. One of only 2 times that Luke records that. You see, many times we can talk about this story, and we can say that this is a story about a prostitute and a Pharisee. It's about a prostitute and a Pharisee. It's about a sinner and a righteous person. It's about someone who's fallen. It's about someone who's holier than that. We can put those categories on the people. But what stands out to me is that when Jesus is in this moment, he doesn't make it about a prostitute and a Pharisee, but he makes this about the woman and Simon. I wish we knew the woman's name. Even though we don't, we know that Jesus is in the middle of this event. He's the center of focus in this encounter. An encounter that represents an incredible number of cultural and social and theological conflicts of his day. And Jesus is able to cut through all of that mess and make it not about any of that or about any objective of proving a point or anything else to the crowds, but instead Jesus cuts through all of that and he makes it about the 2 people who are there. He makes it about the woman and he makes it about Simon. It's about Jesus. This passage is one that actually includes the story. The question, who is this Jesus? Who is this guy who claims he can forgive sins? And that's what we've been talking about in the series. Who is this Jesus? And this morning I want to say that this Jesus is one who focuses on people. This Jesus is one who truly sees people. What is it like to see people the way that Jesus sees them? No matter our race, or our nationality, or our gender, or our orientation, or our culture, or our raising, or our talents, or hobbies, abilities, likes, dislikes, favorite sports team, no matter all of those things, before we are any of those things, before you can put any label upon us, the thing that all of us are first is made in the image of God. This is why, fundamentally, I disagree with the use of the term sinner to describe us. We may be people who commit sins. We may be people who fail, but we are not sinners. That is not our identity. Our identity is people who are made in the image of God, and that image may have been corrupted by sin. It may be tarnished, but Christ seeks to restore the image of God within us fully. Because that is who we are above all else. We are ones created in the image of God. And in this interaction, Jesus could look at Simon and he could see him as the Pharisee, the falsely righteous person who builds himself up, who's deceptive in his teachings, who's invited Jesus to his house possibly under false pretenses, who's harboring judgments and hatred against this woman. He could see him as any of those things, but no, he doesn't. He sees him as Simon. And he could look at this woman and he could see her as a sinner. He could see her as a prostitute. He could see her as a woman who has loose morals. He could see her as a woman who does not deserve to be in his presence. He could see her as a woman who, no matter what she does, she's not going to be able to recover or deliver herself from the situation that she finds herself in life, but he doesn't. He sees her as a person. Jesus sees the image of God, the imago Dei, in which we were created. And He loves them. Ultimately, as Christians, to truly see a person, truly see them, and know them, is to love them. There is no other option for the Christian. You cannot hate someone if the thing that you know about them and see in them before anything else that you might learn about them is God Himself. The image of God which they bear. And you don't have to know a person to know that about them, because all of us, all people, were created in the image of God. So it is true regardless of what we learn about a person. My friends, I am not an alarmist. I'm not a person who sits around and worries about the state of the world and everything that's happening. I'm not a person who thinks that the world is any worse than it ever was. That's what my nanny would always say to me. She goes, I don't know where the world's coming to. I say, look, Annie, we've been sinning for a long time. And we're not coming up with anything new. Alright? The world is not any worse than it's ever been. In fact, because of the coming of Christ and the presence of the Holy Spirit in this world, I can guarantee you that this world is never actually going to get any worse than it ever was. It's only going to get better. Because when we fell hard. We ruined it from the start. So I'm not an alarmist. I'm not a person